Okay, and here are the problems that we did on the boards, hopefully. And first problem, partner A. The paper debt, literacy, financial experiences, and over-indebtedness included data from a survey of 1,000 Americans. When asked how long it would take to pay off their credit card by paying the minimum payment of $30 each month, 354 of the 1,000 respondents chose the correct answer of never. By the way, never. Do not always pay more than the minimum unless you like being in debt. Anyways, assume the sample is representative of all Americans. Pretend there's an S there. Is there convincing evidence that the proportion of adult Americans who can answer this question correctly is less than 0.40? And then they ask us, assume an alpha of 0.05, and what are the hypotheses? So always look for the convincing evidence, all right, and less than 0.40. So that tells us that part right there, and also our number. So our number, let's see if my pen is behaving properly. We'll find out. So that's the number we use. Oh, good, it is. And the symbol here is less than, so that goes right there. Okay. So what is the level of the significance? Well, it's just alpha, 0.05. And what is the statistic from the sample? It's p hat. So that's P, and then you put a little hat on it. I saw some people writing a 0 on this. I'm like, that's not a 0, that's a P. All right, so one little side note. Always make sure that you have an actual equation. H naught and HA are not part of the equations, okay? So it should be like P equals something or mu equals something, depending on what we're dealing with. Here, we're dealing with proportions. All right, what sampling distribution will you use? The normal. So use for proportions, right? So use that for proportions. And what is the value of the sample test statistic? I'm going to get to that. Let me go ahead and set up the other side while we're up here. All right. Now, on the other side, the article poll finds most opposed return to draft. Wouldn't encourage children to enlist. So this article reports that in a random sample of 1,000 American adults, 700 indicated that they oppose reinstatement of the military draft. Suppose you want to use this information to decide if there is convincing evidence, keywords right there, that what? The proportion is greater than 2/3. And here they give us a number. Okay, so again, this is the piece that forms our alternate hypothesis, and our null is just our alternate with an equal sign. Remember, so H naught is just HA with equals. All right. Now, could you use a different form of the null? Yes, but in our class, we pretty much keep it to this one. Why? Because we use the null to build a model, and we need a number for that, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so what is the level of significance? Not given. So I didn't put it down here, and it's like, oh, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I did. But it's actually a good opportunity to tell you, so assume alpha equals 0.05. So if it's not given, assume it's 0.05. All right? What is the statistic from the sample? Well, the sample's up here, 700 out of 1,000. So that's our p hat right there, p hat. So there are a couple ways to write p hat. That's one of them. That's another. All right. And what sampling distribution are we going to use? The normal distribution. All right. Now you're probably going, well, that means I need to go to the stapplet and use the normal distribution. The problem is, to do that, you have to have the mean and the standard deviation. We have a better way to do it, and that's with one categorical variable, single group. And let's start and do the first one first. So this is the debt, and we said never. And our sample, we need to know the sample is 354 out of 1,000. So answered debt timeline. Didn't have to be. So never is the correct answer. We had 354. Other answer, right, is here. So I need to go ahead and subtract 354 from 1,000. So that gives me 446. Sadly, I can't just type it in there. You'll need a calculator or something for that. And there we go. Oops, I did not have the right number. So always use, no, that's another opportunity. I was meant to say 646. Mrs. Overman's generally good at mental math, but addition and subtraction are the hardest. That's sort of a joke, but not. Okay, always check your total here to make sure that it adds up to what it's supposed to be. So there we are. Then we're going to do a one sample z-test, and our alternate, let's go and look at the alternate, is less than 0.40. So let's come back up here, make sure this says less than, make sure that says less than 0.4, perform our inference, and voila, there's our test statistic and our p-value, which brings me to that. So do we reject or fail to reject? That's a very low p-value, all right? So it's less than our alpha of 0.05. So we reject our H0. We have convincing evidence that the proportion who say never is less than 0.40. All right. Now let's go ahead and we're going to do the test statistic for this one. And here we had 700 out of 1,000. And this is opposed. So let's refresh this draft. And this one is opposed. And we had 700 out of 1,000. And I'm going to just say don't oppose. I don't know that they favor. They might be neutral. All right. So begin analysis. Scroll down to the bottom. Pick a one sample z-test. And we're wondering if it's greater than 0.667. Where did I get that from? I got that from the alternate hypothesis. So the sample goes, so remember, here, let me go highlight my samples. So this is the first sample, and here's the second sample. All right. That's where our statistic comes from, is from the sample. All right. Okay. So now that I've got my stapplet set up, perform inference, I get a z-score of 2.2143 and a p-value of 0.0134, which I have copied here. And so that's the test statistic, just to be clear. Let me go ahead. So the test statistic is right there. And the p-value hopefully is pretty obvious, right? Okay, do we reject or fail to reject? Again, very low p-value, so we reject. Because our p-value of 0.0134 is less than alpha of 0.05, we reject H0. We have convincing evidence that the proportion who oppose the draft is greater than 0.067. So let me just add a little note. First sentence is reject or fail to reject H0. Second sentence is strength of evidence for HA. All right, so that's how you tend to construct your conclusion. Come in handy if you decide. By the way, some of my stats kids who take the regular course go on to taking the AP course. And so in that case, the difference is you would actually, instead of selecting which one's the right conclusion, you write the correct conclusion. And that brings us to the end of this check for understanding.